Yeah, I guess you're right. It's about time we go down that rabbit hole once again. What's up YouTube, I'm J-Rod, BATTLEBRAWLERproductions, and today we are taking a look at the Presto Jumbo Correction Pen Fine Point Multi-Purpose Osmium Save by Penn & Teller. Now me and Penn & Teller have a very interesting relationship, as most of the time, I don't like what they make. Very few things I think are actually good and worth the money, but everyone else I talk to say that everything they make is amazing and I'm weird. Well, I know I'm weird and I know I go against the mainstream most of the time, but hey, that's just how we do things here. Now this is a very interesting piece because you can actually only get this on Amazon as far as I know. I've not seen this at Michael's, I've not seen this at Hobby Lobby, I've not seen this at Walmart, only seen this on Amazon, and the prices do fluctuate quite a bit. I've seen it as low as $1.36 all the way up to about $6.35, so quite a price difference. As the time I'm recording this, however, it is on sale for $3.20, which I think is an actual reasonable price for this product. Now, I first found out about this by watching a Jim Lee drawing stream. You guys know Jim Lee's one of my favorite artists. I actually have some of his artwork hanging on the studio, I have some of his books, and I have looked at other things that he has used in the past. And before you say anything, no, you do not need to use the same equipment or professional level tools to get good artwork that your favorite artists use. But I do think that testing them out once in a while, or at least taking a look at them, you can definitely learn something from the creative process that your favorite artists do use. So that's why I decided to pick this up and some of the other inks that I've tried. And yeah, this thing has a really interesting design. I actually think it looks really cool. You got a blue body, you got the logo. I will say that when you order yours, you'll get a huge sticker on the back of it. Yeah, just peel that off and then you'll be stuck with some stickiness, which just some Goo Gone will take care of that. I didn't do that because I wanted to actually show you that it is sticky. But I do like the design of this. I think it's actually really nice. When I first got it, I thought it would be awkward in the hand, but if you take the cap off and then you put it on the back, which it does stay really nicely secured on, then it is very nice to hold. That cap helps it rest naturally in the hand, and it's got a very just nice feel to it, which was really surprising. Now, it is a fine point multi-correction pen, basically. Now, you're probably thinking, why should I pay extra for a Presto white pen when I can just use whiteout? Well, I'm gonna tell you why. Both these whiteouts have a problem, and that is the medium that they're transferred in. Open up this cap and you pull out this tool, but no matter how many times you use it, it's going to slowly oxidize, being exposed to air, and it will damage the brush or the sponge. Brush's bristles will be pushed out and become basically like a hardened piece of metal, while the sponge becomes a hardened piece of metal that's unusable. Both dry out over time very quickly, and they're not good for precise fine detail. Now you're probably thinking, I'll just use the pen. Well, I wouldn't. The pen is actually your standard bullet pen, so it's not very fine, it's a very thick bullet line. And on top of that, there are times where the ink will discolor. I actually was working on a Fantastic Four piece for my Jack Kirby tribute, and I originally used this to do the stars, but I stopped halfway as the ink started to turn bright orange. I have no idea why, it just did. So that leaves you with this, which you can get easily much more controlled thin lines, and on top of that, it doesn't do this coloring like that. In fact, we're gonna go behind the curtain. I actually did do an illustration just using this for fun in between classes one day at school, and I really liked it. I love the fact that it actually doesn't discolor. It's really fun, easy to use. The steps on it is pretty easy. It's on the back. Shake well with cap on, press tip on surface and gently squeeze, store point up with cap on so it doesn't dry out. And that's what I like about it, is this fine cap, this like fine little point right here that's really going to help you get those really fine, nice detailed lines. And if you've watched Jim Lee streams in the past like I have, the stuff you could do with this is really amazing and really nice. Let's go ahead and give it a quick test in our Batman sketchbook. Alright, so to give this a quick test, I did a few marks on this piece of paper with Sharpie, Micron, Tomboy, Staedtler, Prismacolor, and AD. Just kind of the common ones I use for fineliners. I know I probably should have done some ink tests, but I think we'll save that for another video, because yes, we are going to do a sequel with this eventually. Now, I've already shaken it up, so let's go ahead and press it, and yeah, just gently squeeze. And there you go. This is the first time that I've used this pen specifically. I do have another one if you guys watch Battle Loop. You already knew this. And it goes down really well. It has a slightly odd smell to it. Not chemical, just kind of, it's weird. But as you can see, it goes down really smooth. You get a lot of good line variation too. You can go quick. You can see here. And then we're going to do another one here. You could go thick to really fill in an area. It just depends on how much you squeeze this, which I personally really like that control and versatility. And you could even splatter effect this, which would be really cool. I've actually seen videos where Jim Lee has put this on a brush or a toothbrush and create a really cool splatter effect. So there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with this. Now when it goes down pretty smooth. I am noticing real quick that the 8W is reacting a little differently than the other inks. And I'm not surprised by that at all, because 8W is a very interesting, very different type of marker. But as you can see, it's actually doing a really good job covering everything. In fact, I wish I knew about this when I did white ink last year, because oh boy, this probably would have saved me a lot of problems. So yeah, the ink's going down really well, very smooth. It's covering the areas, create streaks. We've really gone in and be able to do a lot with this, which is really, really nice. So now I think the next step is to actually test this on some black paper. So let's go get our black sketchbook. Alright, zooming in, let's test it on some black paper, which I think is always a great test for white inks, because you really get to see like how good it is just creating an area of white. No, this is doing a really, really good job. I love the feel of this, because this entire part right here is a softer, more flexible plastic. It creates that suction, so you're really able to control the thickness of your lines. You can make them really thick like that, we can make them really thin. I love that control. I really think that's the most important part of this pen, is that ability to create that line variation, because you're able to really control what you're doing. It also means you're using less tools as you draw, because you have one tool that's able to create such a good variety. Now this is a black sketchbook, so of course only white's going to show on it, but now I absolutely love how this is going down. Again, you get a small faint smell. It's not chemically. I'm really not sure what kind of smell this is. I think it has something to do with the fact that this does say that it's osmium safe, or osmium. Dyslexia, it is not fun, but it does store very nicely. I've had a few problems where if I don't properly like just take 2 seconds to clean it like this before storing, that gets a little clogged. But that's easy to fix. You can just press down and it will break it. So very, very nice. I love how that looks on the paper. It's covering it very well. Today's illustration is, of course, of our superhero, Brad. And I did this illustration about a year ago, so it's not super perfect. It's not actually a good representation of my current art style, but we're going to ignore that because this is a fun little throwback to White Ink Month. I still have a lot of this really nice drawing black paper, and I thought it'd be really fun to actually illustrate only using Presto. That's right, we are only going to be using Presto. Now, I will say this, as I allude to the part 2, we will also do an illustration later on in this year where I combine this with normal inks to give you guys a little bit better taste of what this is capable of in your drawing toolbox. So if you want to see that, go ahead and subscribe because we're going to be a few months out of that. But in the meantime, let's roll that super time lapse. Inking this piece was really fun and very enjoyable. I absolutely love the whole entire process, and every time I test out a white ink, I kind of feel like Frank Miller in a way, adding areas of white to an area of black, and it's really enjoyable. Now this ink did have a few problems, and it's not perfect, but the problems I did have were very minor and kind of nitpicky. Number one, if you do long strokes in your artwork, this is going to work for you. But if you do short strokes, this may be a little problematic. As I also had first drawing from my wrist, so I was making short strokes, and in an area that's really long, like a wing, that made my lines uneven, and I had to go over and fix them. I just changed my tactic and started drawing from my elbow and my shoulder and just made it all in one go, and that worked really well. Number two, using this pen, you may actually get a hand cramp. I didn't, luckily, but I did notice that I was using a lot of the muscles in my hand that I don't normally use, so I didn't have to take a break. I just powered through it, but it's worth mentioning that your hand may cramp up, or you may just be like, oh, I'm not using these muscles more, that's weird. Also, the way I used it with a brush didn't work very well for the splatter effect I was looking for, but at the end I decided to not do it because one, I didn't have a toothbrush to actually get the fine grains that would be needed to get the splatter effect, and two, I felt like it would have been too much with the rain already in the piece. But with all those minor negatives aside, I was really just blown away by how amazingly perfect this ink was able to draw on black paper. There was literally no black showing through, and even if there was one area, I think by the left wing, that had a little bit showing. I went over a second time and it was done. And on top of that, I have to say that ink dried so quickly, it really shocked me. This ink took about 1 to 2 minutes to dry, 3 at the most. Meaning that when I drew in Wrath, I just waited 2 minutes for it to dry, then I did the lightning, waited 2 minutes for that to dry, and then did the rain effect. And the rain effect was done so well with this piece. I was really picked a direction, went with it, and I love the entire process. And the way it was going down where it wasn't the full ink meant that it dried almost instantly. And I love a fast drying ink. It was really impressive by overall the amount of quality that I was getting from this one ink. And if I was to illustrate this piece normally, I'd be using several different instruments. I would actually be using the Sugu white gel pen. I would be using the Dr. P.H. Martin's bleed proof white ink and the Dr. P.H. Martin's Bombay India white ink. So I'd be using a lot of different elements to create the same effect that I was able to with just this one pen. So it was really impressive. we're done, guys. I absolutely love how this piece came out. It's very graphical, it's very Frank Miller-esque, and I really just love the entire design of this. The rain came out amazing. Very different from what I normally do, but I absolutely loved it. I really wanted to push myself with this piece, and I think I achieved it. Fortunately, I did get my desk super dirty, so yeah, just keep that in mind whenever you're doing a rain effect with this pen. But overall, I love this piece, and if you like it, just like everything we do on the channel, it is available on my ArtStation account for a $1 digital download. It's the first link in the description down below, and it does help the channel out. But now we got the shameless self-promo aside, what do I have to say about the Presto Jumbo Correction Pen? And I have to say that this is my favorite correction pen. Out of everything I've used, all the white ink I've done, this is my absolute favorite. This is my go-to now. And I say that because it's really easy to add highlights. It's really easy to add a halo effect. It's really easy to go in and do really nice, precise, fine work. Now, it's not perfect. Let's keep that in mind. There were a few problems. The ink really didn't lead itself to a good splatter effect. On top of that, using it for a long period of time, you can definitely get a hand cramp as you are really having to squeeze and use the muscles in your hands that you don't normally do. But I think this, in conjunction with, for example, the Dr. P.H. Martin's white ink and the normal Uniball white gel pen, if you have all three of those, you are able to do everything you need for white ink. Now, on my scale of 1 to 10, I'm giving this thing a 9. I'm just absolutely blown away by how much fun it was to use, how good it was, the quality of everything. It's not perfect, but I think it's really close to it. And if you could get this thing for under $3, it's definitely worth your money. The higher asking price of $6 to $7 is way too much in my opinion, but 3 and below, it is a steal, and I heavily recommend that you guys add this into your artistic toolbox. But let me know what you guys think of this in the comment section down below. Do you think that my arguments and tests for this was good? Do you guys want to see the sequel video? So let me know about that in the comment section. Or do you just absolutely hate this and think this is the worst whiteout pen you've ever used? I would love to hear your comments down below. Subscribe to the channel for more art and animation based content. And remember, I'm J-Rod of BLACKEST Productions. I draw power in my own soul.